Like, is this gonna be my life now? What does this mean? Can I play sports anymore? Can I go to the gym anymore? Can I walk my dog and play with my dog anymore? When I started this channel, I wanted to share a lot about my life, kind of what I go through, tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, lessons that I've learned, experiences that I've gone through that I'm sure other people have gone through. And, maybe they can relate to, maybe they could take something from it or whatever that might be. And I was debating on what the first video that I wanted to share was going to be. And then it hit me last night. I'm going to share my story about my stroke and kind of start from there because it was a big factor, a big moment in my life that still lingers to this day. So I'm 36. I had a stroke when I was 30, so just over 6 years ago. It was the end of July of 2017, so 5 years ago, maybe not 6, 5, whatever. And it was a freak thing, especially for somebody at 30. And I'm big into fitness. I'm big into sports and being active. I mean, up till that point, I was playing sports 4 days a week, 5 days a week, the gym 5 days a week. Like, I was active every single day of my life. It's just what I was and who I was until I wasn't. So I had developed a migraine issue randomly, just literally one day I woke up with a migraine. So that was around like 26, 27 maybe. And I didn't really know what migraines were at the moment. I never really had them, or maybe if I did, I had one or two here and there and I just didn't really know. I've had headaches, but that was it. And all of a sudden I couldn't move. I couldn't see really when it happened. I was pretty much bedridden for like 2 days straight, I think, or something like that, the first time I had one. And then they came on often, quickly, frequently, and I knew something was up. So I went to my doctors, kind of talked to them. They sent me to a neurologist, specialist and all that. And we tried a whole bunch of things. And I want to preface with, don't settle on the first doctor that you visit, especially with something, more severe, more lingering, chronic, things like that. Don't settle on the first one if something doesn't feel right. Take this as my advice here, is I kind of settled for a little bit on the first one, and it wasn't the right fit at all. It wasn't good. They kind of, unfortunately, some doctors do this, and they kind of brush me off in a sense. Oh, you're healthy. You're okay. It's whatever. And they tried a couple medicines and treatments and nothing really helped. And now my body doesn't really do well with medicine in general. It kind of just rejects it. It doesn't really work for the most part. But I went back for a checkup, went to the nurse practitioner at that point. Vibes were just off to begin with. But at this point, like, I was really in my head with my own anxiety too. And then I wasn't feeling good. And I didn't like to speak up, so I didn't really say anything. But she literally read the scan because I had a neck and back scan, x-ray, whatever. And she like read it and read the report and was like, oh, I don't really know what that means, but it's okay. So at that point is when I knew I needed to find a different doctor, and I took the time to research some more, and I got a different doctor. And long story short, through the whole doctor spiel between before the migraines, during the migraines, before the stroke, during the stroke, after the stroke, I've been through 9 different neurologists at this point. So like I said, don't settle for the first one. You might not settle for the second or third one, because I've had doctors that brush me off. Oh, you're healthy. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. Sure, I look healthy. Sure, I eat right. Sure, I work out and exercise and act. Something still happened, right? And unfortunately, oftentimes doctors will brush things off, or they'll treat the symptoms and not the cause. So we're gonna rewind a little bit and kind of start the story there. So I got the migraines, and then I didn't know what a stroke was. Like, maybe on TV or a movie or something, I've seen it, but I didn't know. Like many of us, I didn't know what a stroke was. I just, whatever. So I had the migraines that lasted for a couple of years, on and off for, it took me out of work. It literally was debilitating, to the point that they were so chronic and debilitating that half the week I could barely get out of bed when they happened. Like, I could barely get out of bed to get a drink of water or go to the bathroom, and I barely ate. I didn't have an appetite because I felt like crap. I had the auras, and basically, for those that don't know, who haven't had migraines, or at least not an aura migraine, I had like squiggly flashing lines in my eyes. So I had like blurred vision, and then I would have like little squiggly white flashing light lines going through my eyes in my vision. So basically, I would look forward and just see like these squiggly lines in front of everything. If I'm looking at the TV, the wall, a book, whatever it was, I would have all these bright, squiggly, flashing lights in front of me. So this went on for a while. Tried everything, nothing really worked. And then one day or one night, all of a sudden, I had a massive, massive, massive migraine. And now at this point, I'm 30, and I was dating a girl at the time. It was a pretty much new relationship at this point, like a month in, I think. And up until that point, for the last like year or so leading up to that, once every other month or so, I would actually have to go to the walk-in, to the emergency room for treatment for these migraines because they would get so bad. I would have one random one every month or 2 months. It would just take me off my feet completely, and I like, for lack of better words, I felt like I was gonna die. Like, it was such a bad pain that I thought my head was going to explode. Like, it was that bad. Tylenol, Advil, anything just didn't work. Sleep, stretching, water, caffeine, nothing worked. To the point where the only thing left, I had to go to the hospital. Literally all I could do was go to the hospital. They gave me some, IV and concoctions in the IV, and that would pretty much knock it down enough to, if you have a 10 out of 10 pain, this was no exaggeration, like a 15 out of 10 pain. I can tolerate pain. This was like a 15 out of 10 pain. It would knock it down to like a 5, sometimes like a 3, 4. I could be there for a couple hours, go home, deal with it, go through the regimen, and go on to the next day. And this is what happened that night. July 27th. It's a day I'll never forget. July 27th on 2017. Like I said, I was going through some things, and I was hanging out, and all of a sudden I kind of just had like a black moment, like a blacked out moment. If anybody's ever drank and heavily drank and gotten pretty drunk, and you have that, like, you black out and you don't remember, it's tough to think back about that. But before that happens, if you can kind of picture that like blackout phase for a moment, it was kind of like that, but it was brief. It was a couple seconds, like 2 or 3 seconds, where almost as if I blinked and opened my eyes, but like it was different because I knew I didn't blink. I just sat there, and I was like, what was that? Like, that was weird because everything kind of stopped. Everything went blank. Everything went black for those couple of seconds. And then that was it. And I was back to normal, but I started having a migraine. So my vision and everything got a little blurry from the migraine, but like nothing out of the ordinary happened besides that brief little instance of like a black screen over my eyes, whatever you want to call it. And then I went back to normal, and I was hanging out for the night. And as the night went on, my migraine got worse. So I was laying in bed with the girlfriend at the time, and we're watching TV, and she was on and off, and she didn't really know what was going on. She was, like I said, new to the migraines and everything with me too. So she was just like, oh, take Tylenol, go to sleep, take some water, whatever. And I was trying all those things, and I had to explain to her, like, no, I know my body enough. I know these migraines now to the point where I'm going to have to go to the ER. Like, unfortunately, I got to leave, and I got to go to the ER. And at this point in time, when I was dating this girl, she lived about 40 or so minutes from where I lived, and I was at her place overnight. So now I had to go, down some back roads, down to a highway and all that stuff. And as I was getting ready to leave, I kind of just felt off. I felt like this migraine was really like, hurting me, really knocking me out in a sense. But I had enough in me, to get home. Plus, I'm a guy, I'm stubborn. So I'm just going to drive home. Whatever, I'll be okay. So I'm driving home, and like 5 minutes down the street, something just kind of feels weird. Like, I get pain in my face a little bit, and then everything goes numb on the right side. So literally, the best way I could ever describe this, like it's this simple, is draw a line down the center of your body, and then divide it in half. And on my right side, so this is a mirror, so like obviously my camera is a mirror side, so this is my right side that I'm here with now. My right side was completely numb. Like, I couldn't feel a thing. I could not feel anything. It was numb. So imagine, you wake up in the middle of the night with your arm numb, like you were sleeping on your arm, and it's like a dead arm, you can't feel it, or Novocaine in your face, right in your mouth. If you have teeth work done, and Novocaine is in your mouth and you can't feel it, that's literally what it was on the entire side of my body. So my right hand, my right arm, my right leg, everything. Driving a car, mind you. So like, I knew what was going on. Like, I knew the action, you know what I mean? Like, I still had function from my brain to my body where like I could do what I was doing and drive. Like, I had a stick shift. And that's how I first noticed what happened was I reached down and shifted, and I was like, wait, did I even shift? Like, that's literally what I remember happening was I like questioned if I shifted, even though I was still driving, right? Like I was in it, but I wasn't in a sense, but like I shifted, and I wondered, did I shift? Because I didn't feel it. So I was confused. So I looked down, and I shifted. I changed gears. So I went to like grab it again and shift just to like feel what happened. And I could see my arm moving. So I could, going like this. I shifted a couple times. I could see my arm moving, and I was aware of my arm moving. Like in my brain, I was aware that my arm was moving. Like I was telling my arm to do something and it was doing it, but I couldn't feel it. Like I couldn't feel it at all. So I kind of like scratched my hand and I couldn't feel it. I had that numb feeling. And then my face really started to tingle at this point. Like now it's going through my whole entire body and my face is really starting to tingle. Now I'm really noticing it everywhere. So I literally remember like going like this real quick, and it felt so weird. It was scary. Like this, let me tell you, when you can't feel half of your body, like I don't know what the hell was going on. Like I was freaking out at this point. I couldn't feel half my body, right? Like it felt like a dead arm or something. So I was like, oh, whatever. I got pins and needles, whatever. But when I touched my face and literally could not feel half of my face, I didn't know. I thought I was dying. Like I thought I was dying. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to think. I thought I was dying or something. And it was the scariest thing. Like feeling or not feeling that was so freaking scary, man. Like I remember pulling off to the side of the road because now at this point, like my eye is super painful. I'm numb. Like all these things are going on. And I just remember like having both hands now. And I remember going like that. I remember going like this, kind of like touching my face and biting my lip and doing different things. And I could only feel half the side. I could only feel my left side. Like literally, no exaggeration. Draw a line down the center of your body. That is what it was. From that line to the left, could feel everything. From that side to the right, couldn't feel a thing. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. Now, like I said earlier, I had a migraine going on, so I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like this is something new with my migraine. I've never had these symptoms before. Like this is a really, really, really bad migraine. Like I got to get home and I got to get to the hospital and get checked out. That's all I knew. All I knew was I need to get home, to get to the hospital, to get to my hospital that I go to know what's going on, to try to get some answers and figure this out. And I don't even know. So now at this point, I'm probably 10 minutes down the street from my then girlfriend's house. The route that I had to take, this is, mind you, like 4:45 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. So the route that I had to take, I would drive right by my father's work. So now I'm like, okay, maybe I can just get there. I'm probably 10 minutes away from there, give or take 15 minutes away from there, another 20 minutes from my house from there. So, okay, let me just drive the 15 minutes or so there. He'll be going to work soon. I'll call him and whatever. So I call my father. I'm like, hey, I don't know what's going on. This is how I feel. La da da da. I might need to meet you at work so you can take me to the hospital, whatever. He said, okay, let me know. Keep me posted, whatever. They're on the phone for a couple minutes, and being the stubborn guy that I am, I'm just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna drive home. Like, I didn't want to leave my car on the side of the road. I didn't want to drive. I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna drive there, let's just keep going down the highway and why stop and just drive all the way home. So now I start driving again. Now at this point, like I said, my right side is numb. My left eye feels like it's gonna like pop out of its socket. It's in so much pain and pressure and just super uncomfortable feeling that I literally had to drive like this. I had to like push pressure onto my eye, into my like head and temple and everything, just so I could like feel okay. So I'm driving and trust me, like word of advice, if you feel this way or anything like this, or you're not sure of what's going on medically, take it from me. Don't do what I did. Don't be stupid. Just call an ambulance, call a ride, whatever you need to do. Don't. It's not worth it. Trust me. Like I am very fortunate I made it home, but I was stupid for driving home. Driving a stick down the highway at 5:30 in the morning with one hand on my eye, pressing my eye, half my body numb. Like, don't do what I did. Fast forward, I get home. Now, If you've had migraines, you might know warm showers sometimes are really helpful. They feel good on your neck, on your back, and they just kind of help you feel better. They clear you up a little bit and whatever. So I take warm showers. So I get home. I'm like, let me try a warm shower first. That's kind of what I have a routine that I go through with my migraines. I take a warm shower, and in the shower, my feeling comes back a bit. It was like I felt weaker and like a little numb, but I could at least like feel now and move and whatever. So take a hot shower and I feel okay in the shower. So I'm like, oh, bet it was just a migraine. Take some Tylenol again, go to bed, sleep it off, whatever. The second I step out of the shower, I feel it all over again. So I get a ride to the hospital. Now it's like 6:30 in the morning. Um, we check in, tell them what's going on. Okay. Now the doctors that were admitting me, and they were busy at this point. So they're checking on me, doing a couple of blood tests and urine tests and just basic stuff, waiting to get me to a CT scan and whatever. They're like, oh, it's just a migraine. Like it's something with a migraine. Like migraines come in all forms. It's a migraine. Now at this point, after everything going on, and I'm explaining to them, I'm not a doctor. I didn't, like I said earlier in the video, I didn't know it was a stroke, but I knew it was something. I knew it wasn't a migraine. Like I knew my body. I knew it wasn't a migraine. No, like it's not, doc. Like I feel it's just not. Like I'm not trying to argue with you, but it's not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It is. It is. So scans, nothing shows up. So they're like, see, it's a migraine. We got to figure it out. We're gonna keep you here and try to figure it out. Run more tests. X, Y, Z. The thing about strokes, for those that don't know, because I didn't know, is the majority of the time, like basically what happens to have a stroke is typically one of two things. Either you have a blood clot or a blood burst. Could be a clot that bursted or whatever. So blood gets restricted one way or another. There's too much blood, it gets restricted. There's too little blood, it gets restricted, whatever. That's what happens with migraines is it's vasoconstricted, so it lacks blood flow or oxygen to your brain. That's why it happens. And then stroke, like I said, you get a blood clot or a blood burst, so the blood flow is basically all messed up. So that doesn't show up on the tests. So they rule out a stroke. So now I'm just kind of lingering, super uncomfortable. Now, at this point in time in my life, my anxiety was pretty bad. Obviously being in a medical instance and sitting in the middle of an ER room because they didn't have a little room for me to go into. So I'm literally laying on a bed, basically on display for all of the emergency room, like the guests that are with their person that's a patient and the doctors and the nurses. And at this point in time, I'm in my own head. I'm also super uncomfortable. I feel like crap. I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. I'm worried. Like, I'm just there with my father and we're kind of like chit chatting a little bit, but it just all felt so weird. Like it didn't feel like real life. It literally, it didn't feel like real life. Like I didn't know what was going on. So hours and hours and hours go by, 3, 4 hours, I think. They put me into the room, like, we're going to keep you all day and probably overnight, run some tests, keep you monitored, whatever. So throughout the day, uncomfortable, nurses in and out, doctors in and out, telling me what they think it could be, whatever. Finally, later on that night, they're like, we don't have neurology independent in house. We had to call out to a specialist and he's not available till the morning. So basically, you're going to do a telehealth. So as you all know now, telehealth is video, Zoom, whatever, like what we had in the pandemic for most of the time. This was pre-pandemic. I didn't know what telehealth was. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, I'm going to be on a video call with a doctor. Like, what are you talking about? I'm in a room, video call with a doctor, a independent neurologist. So he's basically having the nurse in the room do tests for him and correlating back and forth what's going on and my responses and all of that. So he orders some special MRI, MRIA, or something like that. And sure enough, it shows up. So the freaky kind of scary thing is at this point in time, I told my father to go to work or go home or whatever. And, family was in and out. Like my parents and grandparents were in and out throughout the day visiting, whatever. But at this point in time, I was by myself for a little bit of time. And the doctor had like come in right before, said, oh, wait on the test. This is what I think it might be or whatever. There's a 1% chance that it's a stroke. Like at this point, they kind of explained it to me like stroke, whatever. It's a 1% chance. Like there's no way. And I was also very pessimistic at this time in my life in general. So I'm like, nah, if that's what he's saying, it is, and it's only 1% chance, that's what I had. Like, I just know that's what I had because I didn't have a migraine, I had something else. He's saying that really the only other chance is a stroke. Cool, I had a stroke. I had it in my head. So sure enough, I'll never, ever forget. He walks in and he just kinda looks at me, he goes, "So," right when he said, "So," he was compassionate about it, I'm not saying that, but it's, "So, Mr. Brown," and I just, like, remember sitting there like, "Damn, like, is this gonna be my life now? Like, what does this mean? Can I play sports anymore? Can I go to the gym anymore? Can I walk my dog and play with my dog anymore?" Like, it's bringing up emotions right now, but I didn't know what life was gonna be like. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if this is how I'm gonna feel for the rest of my life, if this is just it now. Because backtracking real quick, in that little bit of a time where I was back and forth with the MRI and the doctors and stuff, two different instances where I got super nauseous and threw up like TMI, but like, this might be a little graphic for some of you, but like violently threw up. And I had these like hot flashes where like I felt like my skin was on fire. Like I felt like I was sitting in a pit of fire type of burning. The room was spinning two different times. And the weirdest part is I've drank in my life. I've been drunk in my life. If you've been drunk in your life, you get the spins, the room spins. Typically your room spins, like sideways, like side to side, east to west, whatever you want to call it. My room kept spinning clockwise. So I was looking forward and it was spinning, and then my skin's burning and I'm on fire and I'm hot and I'm cold and I'm sweating and like just my body was going through all of these like crazy things all at the same time because it didn't know what it was doing. Like I had a traumatic brain injury. My brain isn't functioning properly. It's going crazy. So all that's going on. I keep feeling that. I'm chewing on ice chips right before the doctor comes in to try to cool off and try to relax. And all of these things are going on. All of these emotions, all of these feelings, all of these worries, all of these what ifs going through my head, just taking a toll on me second by second by second. And then he tells me that I don't know what to do. I'm 30 years old. This isn't supposed to happen to me. I'm healthy. Or at that point, I was relatively healthy. That's that's not supposed to happen. Like a stroke, from what I knew of it at that time was that's an old person. Like that happens to old people. That's what happens when you get older. I'm 30. And they were telling me the age thing. Like I'm more than half the age typically of what somebody is when they have a stroke, and different things that lead different causes to that. None. I had no factors. So as time goes, I transferred to a different hospital with neurology in house, and altogether, 3.5 days I was in the hospital. 3.5 days and nights I was in the hospital, hooked up to monitors. I went to the different hospital, and every hour there's somebody coming to check on me, somebody coming to check my vitals, somebody coming to check, my status of the monitors connected to me. I felt helpless. I could like they didn't want me to get up and walk. Like I was in a bed to the ambulance. I got wheeled out, wheeled into the hospital through a wheelchair. They didn't want me to walk. Like I could feel my body. I could move my body in bed, but they didn't want me to walk. They said, "Oh, just like if you need to go to the bathroom, have somebody guide you there. Get the wheelchair." And the bathroom was 10 steps in front of me in the room. But they didn't want me to walk. 30 years old and they're telling me not to walk. What? No. No, I'm going to the bathroom. Like, no. Because before that, they were wheelchairing me everywhere, and I was, like, hobbling to the bathroom because my balance was off. That was the problem. They didn't want me to fall. I could walk, but my equilibrium was so off. That's, like, the main physical thing that happened to me, was it threw off my gait and my balance. I couldn't really stand up straight or walk straight. I walked zigzag and wobbly. I had to hold on to the rails. I had to hold on to the wall. I had to hold on to a person just to walk 5 steps to the bathroom at 30 years old. Imagine the toll that's going to take on you in general. Never mind being a relatively healthy, active 30-year-old. So get up and I go to the bathroom and hobble there or whatever. I get back to the bed, kind of hanging out. I have an iPad, a TV, whatever. Like, end of the time, the day off of work, I remember she was hanging out with me. Super grateful for it. We didn't work out, but I'm super grateful for that. We were a month in. She didn't have to do any of that. Barely knew me. So finally, we go through a bunch of tests, and I basically find out over this time that they don't know. We don't know why. You had a migraine. It caused these infarctions, spots on your brain, basically. Had a stroke. You had a TIA, transarrhythmic ischemia, which is like a pre-stroke, and then you had a stroke. We don't know why. I was literally a 1% of a 1%. So what happened to me? There was a 1% chance of a 1% chance that it could happen to anybody, and it happened to me. Finally, I get wheelchaired. I get not admitted. I get let go home, whatever the word is. I can't think of it. And now I'm just like, what is my life going to be like? They told me I had to do follow-ups and checkups and go to rehab for, at least 6 weeks to work on my balance and basically I had to learn how to stand up straight, stand up with balance, not fall over, and walk again. I had to learn how to properly walk. Like, I knew how to walk, but I was off balance. I was off center. I was wobbly. I was woozy and all these things. I had to relearn how to walk again at 30 years old. I just wanted to get to the gym. Like, I wanted to get back to the gym. I wanted to get back to sports. I wanted to get back to me. I wanted to get back to not having people look at me with pity in their eyes. And it's human nature, right? Like, people that know you, they don't know better, right? They feel bad, they whatever. So it's just natural. People kind of look at you with pity. And I just remember, like, my family and the girlfriend at the time, and the look in their eyes was just like pity. That hurt. I never said it. That shit hurt. Knowing the type of person I was and who I was and what I did, having people look at me that way, awful. And a few days later, I was decent enough to get to my friend's house, and we were at my friend's house for a little while, and were happy to see me and checking on me and everything. But again, that look of like pity, it stings. It hurts. Sucks. Takes it like that. Everything just took a toll on me. So basically, going through the time, rehab, doctors, trying to figure it out, trying to get answers, medicines. At this point, I'm on like 13 different medications, the migraine, for the stroke, for the post stroke, all this stuff. 30 years old. I was on 13 daily medications. Like, I had a pill box, like the old people have, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, morning, afternoon, night, all of it. My life changed, and I didn't want to accept it. I was in denial, in depression. I like the toll that it took mentally was far worse than the physical, because I was fortunate enough where I wasn't super weak. I got my walking came back, like little things here and there, but like I didn't have the droopy face. I didn't have things that you might see from a typical stroke patient. So I'm super fortunate and grateful for all of that. But the mental toll was real. The next almost 2 years, I was a couch potato. Like, the basic of movements was all I could do. Walking, going for little walks, walking around the house, doing my stretches, doing my balance exercises. Like, very basic things was all I could do for almost 2. I was dying to get back to the gym, dying to get back to sports. But now my hand-eye coordination is off. My balance is a little bit, everything is just a little bit off. And it's things you take for granted. This is one of the lessons that I learned from it is easier said than done, but don't take the little things for granted, such as walking straight, having good balance, being able to react a little bit quicker. Things like that, that just come natural that we take for granted. I lost. I lost a little bit of grip strength. So now, I started getting back to the gym a couple years later and I was good for a little bit, but something always felt off. Like there was always a little bit off. Come to find out recently, I've been working on it more. I definitely have a little bit of less strength on my right side, especially my grip strength is a little bit off on my right side. Slower to react to things sometimes. My brain definitely a step behind sometimes. It basically like crossed my wires and in a sense and kind of threw everything out of whack. Not a lot, just enough to notice, like just enough for me to be like, it's not right there. It's a little bit off, just enough. And prior to that, like I said, I had anxiety my whole life, brought bouts of depression on. Like I didn't want to get out of bed most days. I just had awful depression. I didn't want to live. Like just the darkest of thoughts came up often. And as time went on, because these were all the main focuses, a couple years later, in the last couple of years now, I've noticed ADHD is going through the roof. My anxiety for a long time went through, and I basically feel what happened was everything that I already had within me that kind of like was managed, for lack of better terms, just was exacerbated tenfold because of the stroke. Like the wires and the chemicals and everything that just kind of happened, it kind of set everything off a little bit more. So now I'm hyper aware of everything, but I also just don't feel myself. And even to this day, I started coming up in therapy recently where I just don't feel myself. I feel off a little bit. And it's from the stroke. Because fact of the matter is something traumatic did happen. Something traumatic to my brain did happen where something is a little bit off. Like I said, it's small, but it's enough to notice. That little bit of being off messes with me a lot. My brain, like my function is a little bit off. I get brain fog a lot. If I stand up too fast, I get super woozy still. My balance to the right side is a little bit off. Like everything's within like 3 to 5%. And typically you might not notice on a given day if everything's, centered. But if I lean to the right a little bit and do something favoring the right side a little bit, I notice it. My memory is little bit off. It's a little bit slower. Sometimes my speech, it's a tiny bit slower. I have to think an extra second more. Again, these are all minuscule things, but they add up. They take a toll on you when you've been so used to doing the same thing at a, you know, high level for so long. And that was me. So it just took its toll and year after year. And I worked through a lot of it. And like I said, now I've been in therapy and working on a lot of different things. And this has come up again. And I'm sharing my story because I know there's more people out there like me, my age, younger, older, obviously, too. But I know there's people out there who might go through a stroke, or might go through similar instances. You might be younger and had whatever other medical instance, and you just don't know what you're doing with life. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. At, at the time, trust me, I don't believe any of this at the time. But finding God recently has put so many more things into perspective for me. And even if you don't believe in God, just believe in something and believe in yourself. As cliche as it is as difficult as it is to look at, every single thing happens for a reason. The stroke happened for a reason for me. Put things into perspective for me, to give me more gratitude for the little things in life. There's so many different things that I could find and pull out and pluck from to be grateful for through it and through the lesson that I learned. It became my identity for so long. I'm here to tell you, like, whatever happened to you, it's not your identity. You're your own identity. Nick, I'm Nick. Nick is my identity. The stroke It's just something that happened. It's a part of my life, but it's not me. Whatever happened to you doesn't have to be you. Whatever your name is, whatever your spirit is, whatever your essence is, that's you. The mental tolls it's going to take, the physical tolls it might take, whatever that is for you, I promise you, you will get through it. Like I said, I didn't know I would ever have a normal life again. And to be frank, life is never normal. Like, in the grand scheme of things, life is never normal to begin with. And no, is my life back to how it used to be? No. Shit happened. A traumatic brain injury happened. But you can't sit there and stay on it. Can't. This is all taking it from take it from me personally. I'm sharing my story to try to help even one person to get through it the way I got through it and I'm still getting through it as things arise that I don't even know about that I might have just suppressed for so long. But you can get through it. Will get through it. Find a support system. Go to therapy, friends, read articles online, join groups online, reach out to me. I'm here for you. I will have a conversation with you until I'm blue in the face if that's what you need to vent. I'm listening. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. God placed me here to help people. Part of the reason that I went through that is to have more empathy and sympathy. Whatever you need, I got you. If you don't have anybody else, I got you. DM me, email me, come to the website, go to the socials, whatever you need, I got you. Life isn't easy. When you have shit happen to you, it's even more difficult. I I wish I mean, I know I had God back then. God is always with you whether you believe in him or not. I do wish I had my faith back then compared to now, but I know he was with me. I know it happened for a reason through him, and here I am. I could get so much more into this topic, but I've been talking for a while now. Um, Maybe at some point I'll make a part 2 as I go through more. I just wanted to share my story, and even if this gets one view and that one viewer can resonate out of that, and you should be proud of yourself too, no matter what happens. Life-changing things happen. Medical things happen. Things come up in your life that are unexpected at the craziest of times. Young, old, it'll happen. Sometimes it's just not in your control as much as you. Again, I was relatively pretty damn healthy. I was active, everything. Sometimes shit just happens. I still don't have an answer to this day. Almost 6 years or 5.5 years later. I don't have an answer. And that's something that I harped on for years. Sometimes you don't get an answer. You can apply this to anything in life, people, relationships, friendships, work. You can apply it to anything. Sometimes, unfortunately, there is no answer and you have to move on. You can acknowledge it. That's powerful and helpful and healthy to acknowledge whatever it is. But moving on is the way in your life the best way you possibly can. This was in a pretty intense first video. God spoke to me a couple days ago. I was trying to figure out. I have a bunch of topics on what videos I want to make about life and health and fitness and faith and everything. And God said, share your story first. Share some of your story first. What I'm here for. All I got. Till next time, like the video, comment, thoughts, what you've been through, anything. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, more real, raw, emotional, human videos. Like I said, I'll be doing mental health, physical health, fitness, you name it, lifestyle, and just being open, honest, transparent about life. Sharing my growth. This is my journey. I'm sharing my journey to help somebody else in there. I love each and every one of you who might tune into this. Comment, like I said, whatever it might be. And until next time, I appreciate every single one of you. I'm Nick. I'll catch you on the next video.